Cornelius Tacitus, a Roman historian born in 55 AD, wrote in 1544 of his Annals, "But all human efforts, all the lavish gifts of the emperor, and the propitiations of the gods did not banish the sinister belief that the conflagration, which was the setting of Rome on fire by Nero, was a result of an order. Consequently, to get rid of the report, Nero fastened the guilt and inflicted the most exquisite tortures on a class hated for their abominations, called Christians by the populace. Christus, from whom the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty during the reign of Tiberius at the hands of one of our procurators, Pontius Pilate, and a most mischievous superstition, thus checked for the moment, again broke out, not only in Judea, the first source of the evil, but even in Rome, where all things hideous and shameful from every part of the world find their center and become popular. Accordingly, an arrest was first made of all who pleaded guilty, then upon their information, an immense multitude was convicted, not so much of the crime of firing the city, but for their hatred against mankind. Mockery of every sort was added to their deaths. Covered with the skins of beasts, they were torn by dogs and perished, or were nailed to crosses, or were doomed to the flames and burnt, to serve as a nightly illumination when daylight had expired. Nero offered his gardens for the spectacle, and was exhibiting a show in the circus, while he mingled with the people in the dress of a charioteer or stood aloft on a cart. Hence, even for criminals who deserve extreme and exemplary punishment, there arose a feeling of compassion, for it was not, as it seemed, for the public good, but to glut one man's cruelty, that they were being destroyed. This vivid account from Tacitus, an obvious non-Christian, confirms several important New Testament details, including the truth Christ was a real person who founded Christianity and suffered the extreme penalty recognized by all ancient writers as crucifixion during the reign of Roman Emperor Tiberius and under the authority of Roman Procurator Pontius Pilate. Tacitus further affirmed this fact in another section of Annals 1544, which mentions a wise man called Jesus who is condemned by Pilate to die through crucifixion. Tacitus also verified Christianity was checked for the moment, which surely refers to the despondent state of Jesus' followers immediately after the crucifixion, but again broke out with the most mischievous superstition, which likely describes the post-resurrection gospel proclamation. As Tacitus noted, also within Annals 1544, Jesus' disciples reported he had appeared to them 3 days after his crucifixion and he was alive. There can be no doubt this was a gospel message preached by the early church. Tacitus also confirmed the resurrection message was first declared in Judea, a region including Jerusalem. A significant population of Christians was residing in Rome within 31 years after the resurrection, and Christians were hated by the Roman government, especially by early emperors such as Nero, who reigned between 54 to 68 AD. We also have further confidence through Tacitus that early Christians suffered great persecution and were destroyed for their faith. Their assurance in the reality of Jesus' resurrection must have been very strong indeed, for they were willing to die for this belief. We know from many other historical accounts Christianity did not die from this persecution, but actually grew more rapidly, as many former non-believers were inspired and transformed by the courageous confidence of Christian martyrs. The Babylonian Talmud, which was written beginning in 70 AD, reports, on the eve of the Passover, Yeshua was hanged. For 40 days before the execution took place, a herald went forth and cried, "He's going to be stoned because he has practiced sorcery and enticed Israel to apostasy. Anyone who can say anything in his favor, let him come forward and plead on his behalf." But since nothing was brought forward in his favor, he was hanged on the eve of Passover. This passage, written by Christ-opposing Jewish religious leaders during the early Tanaitic period, supports the New Testament claim that Yeshua, which is Jewish for Jesus, was a real person who was crucified. We know this since ancient writers often refer to crucifixion victims as those who were hung on a tree. The Talmud also confirms Jesus' crucifixion occurred just before Passover due to his gathering of many Jewish followers, and his sorcery, which is a grudgingly clear reference to the common belief of 1st and 2nd century people that Jesus was a miraculous man. Also, while the herald's 40-day proclamation is not directly reported in the New Testament, it is consistent with what we know about 1st century Jewish practices and is very plausible, for Jesus was threatened with stoning at least twice. Further, the report no one came forward to testify on Jesus' behalf strikingly confirms the fact all his disciples forsook him prior to his trial. Jesus really was abandoned by all at his death, so it is truly amazing the disciples and countless others all voluntarily suffered and died for him later. The Talmud also supports the New Testament claim that Jewish religious leaders held powerful physical and spiritual sway over the Jewish people, able to destroy the lives of citizens and condemn them to the point of death. For this reason, it is remarkable more than 10,000 Jews, including priests, rebelled against them to become Christians soon after the resurrection. The Talmud also validates the New Testament truth. Jewish religious leaders sought those who they deemed to be acceptable witnesses for Jesus' so-called trial.